So when you hear the word forecast, you might think it's a yearly budget, right? Something you're building in December to forecast the next year. And this isn't that. What this is this is a live sort of deal by deal pipeline forecast. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to model this, and you can see whether your team's forecast is something you can actually, run your business on, or you can train them, to be better at forecasting. And so what I mean by that is let's just look over here at the data set. And if you want this data set, just let me know. There's a link in the description. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. So what you're going to have is a data set similar to this, to where you're going to have, sales rep name, maybe the location. You're going to have the source, the lead source, system type, all those things. But essentially, after your rep or your tech talks to the lead, then you'll know the cost, or the value of what you're going to charge them. And then you'll have like a probability, right? You can assign a probability like, yeah, I'm 60%, sure, 30%, these are just random numbers. And then from there, you have an actual forecasted amount, right? So it's like, hey, went out, talked to somebody about a heat pump, it's going to cost, $8,000. I'm 65% sure they're going to move forward with it. And I'm expecting them to close, around September. And then what'll happen is further on down the line, you'll have actual data, right? So nope, we lost opportunity. We made nothing. Why? Because it was too expensive, or why? Because the client shopped it out and went to a competitor. And so all we have to do, it's really straightforward. We just have to calculate these 4 columns. So what you have is you have a forecast close date expectation, right? Which is column O here in the table. And then you have an actual close date, whether the deal was closed because it was lost or the deal was won. And so either way, the deal is closed. And so what you have to do is you have to just get the forecasted month, which is super straightforward, equals text, the text function, go to the forecasted close date, comma, and then this is the month, so 4 M's. And then you get the month this way. For the year, it's the exact same thing, just instead of 4 M's, do 4 Y's for the year. And then this one here is on the closed month. So it's the same exact thing, just on column T. And then this is all you need. Because what we're going to do is for the forecast here, we're going to sum the forecast after the weighted probability. We're going to sum this column based off of these months. And then we're going to sum the actual booked revenue column off of the closed months, because what you're going to have that's going to decrease your accuracy is, one, deals aren't closing, right? So the 65%, this 6,000 is 0 because it didn't close. And you're also going to have what's called slippage, right? So you might have forecasted, say later on down here, you forecasted something to be closed in, late September, but it ended up being, closing in October. This is a better one here, right? So you expected the forecasted close was September 30th, but it actually closed October 5th. So it's not going to be attributed to the forecasted month, which is exactly as expected. And so it's going to be very, very hard to get to 100% here, if that's even possible, because there's only, one, you'd have to have no slippage in the months, but 2, you'd have to say, okay, anything that you had like a 50% probability, a lot more of those close. So you have a $10,000 deal, 50% probability, therefore we expect to make $5,000 off of this, but out of the 50% probability, 80% of them closed, right? And so that's the only way you can increase these numbers. Be very accurate on when you think the deal's going to close, and be very accurate on the probability of it, when it's going to close. So this isn't a forecast of saying, hey, we did, $300,000 a month last year. We're going to increase it by 5%, right? And we're going to do $315,000 a month this year. So it's not that. This is way more, granular than that. So let's get started. So what we need, What we need, now that we created these here, we just need a unique list of this, right? So we just need to get September 25, October 25, all the way through the data set. So we're going to have month and year. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the unique function, and then I'm just going to click here, hold down the shift key. Actually, you can do it like show you. If you just click and drag, that way we're in the table. And then you press enter, and now you have it. September, October, November, December, 25. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 26. January, 27. Pretty straightforward so far. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to highlight this, Control C, Control Shift V to remove the formula. I don't want the formula in there. Like you'll see here, the formula is still up here, and I don't want that. So I want to just Control C, Control Shift V. So now we have the forecasted amount, forecasted, actual, and then we have, the accuracy, and then we have an attainment percent. The attainment percent is the accuracy. But let me add one column in between here because this is going to be for the chart. We can call this date. And I want to combine these two. So I'm going to do B3, the and signed, quotations, a dash, more quotations, and this. And then just double click that down. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to sum the forecasted amount, right? The 10,000 times 50% to get 5,000, the 5,000 column, we want to sum that if the month is September in the forecasted close month, and if the year is 2025 in the forecasted close year. So equals, we want to sum if, right? Sum if September 2025. So SUMIFS. And so we want to do the forecasted booking amount, which is, the estimated value times the percentage. And then it's going to be this column, comma, where the forecasted month is in cell B3, but I'll just go back to it and show you, is right here in B3, comma, and then the year here, comma, is in C3. Like we know it's in C3. And then press Control Shift and the number 4 to format it, and then you can just double click that. If you didn't see, it's that little green box in the bottom right. You also see the crosshair of your mouse change. Okay, so for actual, pretty much the same thing, just in the actual money you received column. So again, SUMIFS, actual booked revenue. If you, for some reason, would have a non-zero value on lost deals, I don't know why you would, but in the event you did, then you could also add this column, like something like this. We don't need to do that, but this where it's 1, right? So maybe you still have some deals, that maybe there was like a down payment or something, but they haven't, paid in full or things like that. But in this example, we don't need to do that. Just letting you know you can. And then here, just now we want the close month because this will account for the slippage. Right, and we remember it's B3, and we remember the close year is C3. And then Control Shift 4, and then double click. And then the attainment percent is just the actual divided by the forecasted. And it's going to be very hard to get this to 100%. Control Shift 5 will make it a percentage. Okay, so finally we just have to create the chart. Pretty straightforward. Like, this is the hardest part, whenever you do this stuff. Creating a chart is the easiest part. It's just getting the data structured in a usable way is what makes it, what takes up the most time. So I'm just going to highlight date all the way over, all the way down, and then we're going to create I'll show you some recommended charts. It's the first one here, but if you were to look at different charts, the only one that really makes sense is having the forecasted as the blue. I mean, any color really, but the forecasted is the blue here. Actual is the red, and then the green line is the percentages. And you can do, if you don't want the blue line, you can just use the actuals. Or if you don't want the actuals and you want the forecasted, which I don't know why you'd want that, but if you did, then you could do that as well. Change the color a little bit. I'll make it super big. And you can see down here, September 2025, October 2025. That's why we created this. Because if you do these two, it gets weird. So yeah, so just add an extra column. Super simple to do that. And then we can call this forecasted, say, attainment percent by month. And then just a little bit of housekeeping. What I'll do now is I will change this green line, or this green line. I'll double click. I mean, you can keep it green, you can keep it whatever color. I'm just going to change it to, let's just say, I don't know, a gray or something. And then we can make it a little bit thinner. And then if you want to smooth it out, you can if you want. It's really up to you. I like seeing the points personally. And then if you want the values, if you click in the chart, you'll see a little crosshair here, and then you can do data labels, but it's going to be really noisy. And so if you just want it on the line, you can click on the line and then do data labels. And then you can, clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, maybe make it white. And then if you want to just move some of these to get them out of the way, then that's fine. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you do this. I mean, if you have any questions, you can just let me know. If you want this data set here, again, link in the description. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. My email is questions@databoards.io. Also, if you need some help getting your data structured properly like this, it's not too hard because you can just add custom fields into ServiceTitan and into whatever software you're using. And also, if you're doing, I don't know, less than 10 deals a day, then you can just have somebody, manually enter in the data. It wouldn't take much time. The hard part isn't so much getting the data into a spreadsheet. The hard part is, finding the insights. And then finally, so this is one way, with this book and with all these videos, this is one way to do it. I'm just trying to find the most useful way, that will help you out the most. But there's a lot of different ways you can slice this data. If you have, say, a sales rep name, you can do the same thing by rep. Meaning, you could have the rep here. Instead of month and date, you can use the rep. Same process. SUMIFS is just instead of the date columns, use the rep column. And then you could also have it by, you could have it by region, you could have it by city, you could have it by lead source, you could have it by system type. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. It's just having your data structured in a proper way. And if you need some help with that, you can, again, just shoot me an email, leave a comment, whatever's easiest. But if not, I will see you in future videos.